What is down, everybody? Is your main course Little Pancake. Welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a little break from the real life animals, and we're gonna go into something I find very interesting, and that's perhaps real life creatures, cryptids, the Bigfoot and the Loch Ness monsters of the world, the beings that no one knows if they really are or are not. Who's to say? Me, of course. And we're going back to one of my favorite places to learn stuff about, and that's the Philippines. Is it because my girlfriend is half Filipino? I don't. Maybe so. Maybe it gets me some brownie points. But it's also a very interesting area of the world, and they've got some very interesting cryptids that we're going to learn about today. I would also first off like to say that this video takes a lot of inspiration from Psychopoly. I'll put his channel up. I just recently found this guy. I love his content. I think he's very good, very interesting, and he does these iceberg type videos. And I'm taking a lot of inspiration from his videos and transferring it into this one. So, without any further ado, let's begin. Level 1 of the iceberg. Not too crazy. We're going to see the Philippine flying crustacean. This guy is not that complicated. It's basically just a flying crustacean. It's said to be 15 to 25 centimeters long. Not that long, you know? I mean, you look at, probably that long. Something like that. And they have the appearance of a crayfish or a shrimp. They have two pairs of limbs that are flattened and facing forward. And then they have more limbs that are facing backwards. They also have transparent bodies, which is weird. They are said to rise out of the water and fly short distances. So much like the real flying fish, where they kind of jump and then glide for a little while. And the creature was first documented by an American zoologist known as Dean Worcester. It's unlikely that he misidentified the creature because he was a zoologist. He'd spent a lot of time in the Philippines and was well versed in all of the nature in the area. Is it real? Probably. It's probably something very weird that maybe it, is in maybe they has a very small population. It's very remote or something. I don't know. Maybe it was just a shrimp that was jumping out the water. I couldn't tell you, but it's interesting. Yeah, this is the top of the iceberg. This isn't super interesting. Stay to the end of the video for the very, very interesting things. Next up, the Cerymanock. I apologize if I mispronounce these names. Cerymanock is a legendary bird in Mindanao, and it is a ubiquitous symbol of Maranao art, and is depicted as a bird with colorful wings, colorful tail, very extravagant, just a really cool looking bird. And a fun fact, as I mentioned, my girlfriend Filipino, her mom, in their house, they have two big paintings of these really colorful chickens, and I never knew what they were till I was looking up for this video. I found that and I was like, that's what it has to be. So there is a legend associated with the Cerymanock that is kind of where this bird's origin is. So the legend tells the tale of a daughter of a sultan, the daughter of the Sultan of Lanao, to be exact, and her name is Sari, S-A-R-I. Sari was said to be a very beautiful, very kind human, and she was loved by all of the people she knew. On her 18th birthday, a ginormous feast was held in her honor to celebrate her birthday. And during this party, a chicken with colorful, glowing feathers flew into the feast. So, I mean, you can imagine just sitting there, you got, a chicken wing or something you're eating on, and then this pink, yellow, blue, purple, glowing chicken just flies in through the window. It would take me aback. The chicken then lands and turns into a handsome prince. So now I would be even more taken aback because the chicken that I would assume it's a radioactive chicken. You know, I would assume this chicken came from Chernobyl or something like that. And but then he turns into a prince that's handsome on top of everything. You know, not just a normal prince, a handsome prince. It's pretty crazy. So the prince claimed to have been watching and protecting Sari since birth, and it was time for her to come with him. So he was like, "Yo, girl, what's up? I've been watching your every move since you were born. Pull up, come on, let's go." And then she did, and he transformed back into a chicken and flew away with the princess, never to be seen again. Now, why did she go with him? I couldn't tell you. I don't think I would have. And then after this, her father was just struck with grief. I mean, he lost his daughter. And so he hired a craftsman to create an image of the magical chicken that took his daughter. And that's why there's so much art of the Sari Manuk. Pretty freaking crazy. Next up on the iceberg is the Mamaloo. This is a sea snake with a huge body described as being as large as a carabao. For us Westerners, about the size of a cow. So that's a pretty big sea snake. It's a big animal. Not ginormous, I mean not ungodly, but a big creature. They have 2 large horns growing from their head. Each one is 30 fathoms long, and of course I forgot to look up how long a fathom was. This is interesting. Well, apparently, I mean, this is what I read. This is correct. 30 fathoms is 180 feet. I guess we're just going to go with that. I think that might not be right, but that's what the document says. They have sharp, long teeth and scales that function as a impenetrable armor. When angry, the creature spits a green liquid at its enemies. They are thought to live in the deepest parts of the seas around western Visayas, and some accounts claim that it makes loud, thunderous bellows. Erratic sightings have been reported beginning in 1932, and most recently in 2007 off the coast of Negros. There's been quite a few sightings. This is the first one that's like, what? Because the Sari Manuk is like, okay, that didn't happen. But is there a sea creature around the Philippines? I mean, the most recent sighting in 2007, that's not that long ago. I guess it is almost 20 years at this point, but not that long. Moving on to Tier 2, the Amamongo. This is one that I think could be something here, okay? So the Amamongo is described as a hairy, white, man-shaped ape with long nails, standing at 5 foot 4 inches, roughly. Reports of attacks spread among residents of La Castellana on the island of Negros in 2008. And the creature attacked 2 people on June 9th and June 10th in 2008. Both individuals survived and were treated with scratches across their body. So we have 2 separate incidents of people claiming to be attacked by the same thing 1 day apart with the same scratches, the same type of injuries. It's weird. The creature is also reported to attack chickens and goats and eat their intestines. The creature is said to live in a cave at the base of Mount Canloyan. Authorities claim that it is a wild animal and a simple case of mistaken identity. I beg to differ. I did my research. It's some sort of variation of a monkey, right? Or an ape. So I took it upon myself to research the largest monkey species in the Philippines, or on the island of Negros in the Philippines, and it is the long-tailed macaque. Macaque. I don't know. I've never known how to pronounce that, but long-tailed monkey, and they grow to be about 4 feet tall. So you're looking at almost 1.5 foot difference. I don't know, man. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Here's my case as to why I think the Amamongo could be real. The base of Mount Kenleon is riddled with caves. There's a lot of caves. It's extremely remote. Not many people go there. Not many people live there. The two separate accounts of people being attacked, I mean, I would assume that this thing, there's probably multiple, right? It's probably a small population living in the caves here. Very secluded, very cryptic, you know? They avoid human confrontation. And this was probably two scenarios where you get one creature, an individual who steps out of line, goes too far into human territory, gets himself in trouble. I mean, because it's just an offshoot of some sort of ape, white hair. I mean, I think it could be possible. I think it could. I don't know. Next on the list is the Manta Bengal, which is a cow or an elephant body. So a large body, cow or elephant shape, that makes sounds like a bull, but does not have horns. Instead, they have a huge mouth with two pairs of giant tusks that are incisors, modified incisors that come out like this. They have long coat of shaggy hair that reaches all the way to the ground, so you can't really see their legs or anything. And they are imposing. They are frightening looking. I think they look really cool. I think this would be a great, fight in a video game. Fighting these things or something. I think it'd be sick. They are herbivorous, so they don't eat flesh, but they are very aggressive towards any man-like creature and have a seeming hatred towards man-made structures, destroying and trampling them on sight. They don't like people, it seems. Maybe there's some sort of spiritual being that's anti-human. Who knows? It's said that humans caught in the vision of Manta Bengals are trampled and torn to pieces, and their bodies are left for scavengers. We don't have any recent accounts of this. These are stories, fables, tales passed down about people being torn to pieces by Manta Bengals. And there is a somewhat recent story of a man that reported hearing cow moos while in the mountains. Hearing the sound, he immediately thought of the Manta Bengal and ran as far as he could, as fast as he could. He just ditched and spent the night hiding under a tree. So eventually he got far enough, he was like, okay, I need to lay down, I need to go to bed. Gets up next morning, goes back to his camp where he was staying at, and found everything to be destroyed, and claimed that even the firewood was chewed up and spit back out on the ground. That's pretty crazy. A possible explanation of this is that it's a story that has been passed down regarding an extinct genus of elephant in the area. So maybe this creature was real and has since gone extinct, but the story remained. Or could be an undiscovered species, but a species that large would be hard to hide, I would think. Next up on the iceberg, the last level 2 cryptid is the Pugat, a mythical fiend found in the Ilocos region of the Philippines. It is a shapeshifter and can turn into various beings such as hogs, dogs, or humans, although it typically appears as an all-black, headless human figure. They typically reside inside of abandoned buildings or inside of trees that have been hollowed out. It's like a dead tree. They're said to be able to move at great speeds and feed on snakes and insects. They are said to feed by forcing food into their neck stump. So imagine if I didn't have a head, it cut off right there. It would just force food into their esophagus, I guess, kind of. Take a snake. I guess a snake would slide down nicely, right? Makes sense. They are relatively harmless to humans. So that's why they're only tier 2. They're a little scary. They're spooky. They don't hurt humans But they do allegedly have a fondness for women's underwear and are said to steal them while they are drying on the clothesline. Here's my headcanon on the Pugat and its origin. I think some guy was doing the laundry, lost his wife's underwear, and then came up with this to explain it. He's like, "You haven't heard of the Pugat? He stole your underwear." And then just made up all of the lore, and like the creature was made because some guy lost his wife's underwear. I think that would be hilarious. That's where my brain goes. Okay, next up on the list is the Bal. There are quite a few stories regarding the Bal. It is claimed to be an undead creature that steals corpses and feeds on them, so it eats dead people. It has bat-like wings, sharp claws, sharp teeth, and a long tongue, like meat. They also have a keen sense of smell for dead bodies. It is said that once they steal and devour the corpse, they place the trunk of a banana tree in the coffin to give the illusion of the dead body still being there. So oftentimes they will go, when someone dies, they usually put them in the coffin, and then you have your funeral service, and then everyone goes away, and then they'll lower them down, or they'll lower them down and not fill the hole back in. There's plenty of different scenarios where you have a coffin that's exposed, that hasn't been buried yet, with a person in it. I think. I don't know. I've never died before, so I don't have that much experience. They also have been observed digging up graves to get to the casket and eat the dead body. Fear not. Loud noises and bright lights scare the Bal. So, if you die, you don't want to get eaten after death, which I don't really know why you would care, because you're dead. You could maybe put inside your coffin, you could put like a disco ball and play some like EDM music on repeat. Just that way when they dig you up, they're just gonna get on out of there. Just an idea. Feel free to do with that what you want. Next up, this is one of my favorite ones from this list. It is the death-dealing tree of the Philippines. This was originally described in a 1925 article in the American Weekly titled "Escape from the Embrace of the Man-Eating Tree." The tree is described as 35 feet tall and 80 to 100 feet in diameter. The tree was surrounded by human bones and emitted the foul smell of rotting flesh. It was, of course, some dummy from the United States, a planter from Mississippi, stumbled upon the tree and noted that there was a human skull at the base of the tree. So what do you do when you see a tree with human bones around it that smells like death? Of course, you approach the tree. You walk towards it. And as he walked towards the tree, his guide stopped him, pointed at the tree, and was like, "Hey, you dummy!" And there was a long branch reaching out of the tree towards him, kind of trying to eat him. And then they split. They ran. Now, I have the excerpt from this, so I'm going to read you the actual excerpt. The whole thing had changed shape and was horribly alive and alert. The dull, heavy leaves had sprung from their compact formation and were coming at him from all directions, advancing on the ends of long vine-like stems which stretched across like the necks of innumerable geese, and, now that the old man had stopped his screaming, the air was full of hissing sounds. The leaves did not move straight at their target, but with a graceful side-to-side sway, like a cobra about to strike. From the far side, the distant leaves were peeping and swaying on their journey around the trunk, and even the treetop was bending down to join in the attack. The bending of the trunk was spasmodic and accompanied by sharp cracks. The effect of this advancing and swaying mass of green objects was hypnotic, like the charm movements of a snake. Bryant could not move, though the nearest leaf was within an inch of his face. He could see that it was armed with sharp spines on which a liquid was forming. He saw the heavy leaf curve like a green mittened hand, and as it brushed his elbow, he saw the heavy leaf curve like a green mittened hand, and as it brushed his eyebrows in passing, he got the smell of it, the same animal smell that hung in the surrounding air. Another instant, and the thing would have had his eyes in its sticky, prickly grasp. But either his weakness or the brown man's strength threw them both on their backs. The charm was broken. They crawled out of the circle of death and lay panting in the grass, while the malignant plant, cracking and hissing, yearned and stretched and thrashed to get at them.
What? What did you just say to me, boy? What the freak?
Pretty weird stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Now, the explanation for this that a lot of people claim is that it was simply a snake, and they really hyperbolized. I don't know if that's a word, but they really exaggerated the story, and it was really just a snake, and the guy thought it was a tree branch reaching out for him. But I like to think that there is a tree in the Philippines, somewhere deep in the forest, that snatches up anything that comes within a certain radius of it. I think that's pretty cool. Heading to the bottom of the iceberg, we have the Alan. Alan? I don't know. I like to just say Alan because I think, like, who's Alan? This is Alan. So I'm just going to say Alan. I apologize if that's incorrect, but that's how I want it to sound. So that's what I'm going to say. So Alan are deformed spirits coming from the Tinguian tribe in the Philippines. They are said to have wings and backward-facing fingers and toes. So, like, that, but that, you know. Pretty crazy. They are said to take menstrual blood, miscarried fetuses, afterbirth, and other reproductive waste and turn them into human children. So you give birth to your baby and there's a bunch of other stuff that comes out. You know, throw it away, probably. And the Alan comes and gets it, turns it into a human child, and then the Alan raise these children on their own and live next to springs in houses made of gold. So I think this is kind of like if you have a miscarriage, it's like the Alan takes that baby, turns it into a real child, and then that child lives this great life in a house of gold with all the riches in the world. You know, I think it's kind of like that. It's kind of a happy thing, I think, because it's not like stealing babies. It's not taking alive fetuses. It's not, you know. So I think the Alan's kind of a happier type of thing going on here. It's pretty weird, pretty crazy. Last cryptid on this list, the bottom of the iceberg, the Manananggal. Manananggal. That's fun to say. Manananggal. Anyway, the Manananggal is a hideous and scary creature. Couldn't think of a joke. That is capable of severing its upper half and sprouting huge bat-like wings to search for victims. It is said that they are usually female, which, you know, makes sense, I guess. I don't know. And they typically prey on sleeping pregnant women and eat the hearts of unborn children. And then they also will just feed on the blood of sleeping humans if they can't find a pregnant lady. This is kind of, I think, you know, this guy and Alan kind of, I think, will work hand in hand, because the Manananggal will go in and eat the heart of an unborn child. And then, of course, if an unborn child doesn't have a heart, it's going to die. It's going to be miscarried. So then the Alan gets to take the miscarriage and have its own kid. So I think they kind of work hand in hand here. But don't worry. The Manananggal has a weakness. When they sever their upper body and search for victims, their lower half stays stationary where it is. Doesn't move anywhere. It's just stuck there. And this is the vulnerability. If you sprinkle salt or smear garlic on the top of the standing torso, it is fatal to the creature. And then I have another excerpt to read about the Manananggal before I let you guys go about your day. Okay, so the following is an excerpt from Dijahal, a Filipino who is currently a manager at Bairuin, Indonesia. I know I pronounced it wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not sure when this page was last updated. Hopefully Dijahal is doing well. Let's read. I had a real experience of seeing this monster. I was a young boy at the time, and our house was in a small barrio with only few neighbors and surrounded with trees. The wife of our neighbor was pregnant at that time, and their house was a small hut with windows that can not be closed, which simply means you can see the stars in their house during nighttime. It was a very noisy midnight that I could not sleep. Our neighbor's dogs kept howling in our backyards, so I tried to check it. I slightly opened our window good enough for my eyes to see everything outside. I am fascinated because the moon was so bright, and there was no dogs in our backyard. So I looked at our neighbor's house and I saw the howling dogs, but when I looked at the window, I saw something dark floating. It was like a person floating horizontally, facing our neighbor's open window. I was very scared because it's hard to describe that dark floating thing. Even the surrounding was clear. I closed the window and went straight to my bed, covering myself with my pillow and sleeping again. On the next day, I talked to my friend about what happened that last night, and I asked him if there was something unusual that happened in their house that night. He said he and his siblings were guarding their mother at the time, and they were aware of the possible attacks of the aswang. He told me he had stepped something like a fairy tale, and then he had thrown garlic into it, and then it suddenly disappeared. So the aswang and the manananangal are pretty much the same thing. Aswang can also refer to a few other things, though, and mananangal is this thing. But that's pretty scary. I mean, imagine you're a little kid, you look out the window at your neighbor's house, and you see this floating being, just the upper half of something, just like, I'd be pretty freaked out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the iceberg for us. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed my graphic that I made. I made this iceberg myself, and I'm very proud of it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure to make someone else's day better if you can. Tell someone that they're awesome. Tell someone that you like them. Tell someone that you hope they succeed in life. Thank you for everything. Smash like, subscribe, and I will see all of y'all later.